Astrology, and I am your astrologer, Lori Lothian. I hope that Wi-Fi is holding up here. I'm visiting a friend's house in Vancouver, Canada while she's away. So look, this is a really great new moon if you're an artist, a performer, if you're creative. This full moon we're about to talk about, this Cancer full moon on the 29th of December, it's going to be full of inspiration and possibly even sudden breakthroughs and new beginnings in your life. And we're going to go into all signs. So stay tuned for the timestamp section later on when you can check your sun, moon, and ascendant sign. But I want to talk about the big picture first. Now, before I do that, a couple of announcements. Check the description box below because there you'll find a link to my year ahead 2021 forecast, an hour for each sign. You can buy the bundle. It's on an early bird special right now, and you can order that on the link below, and I'm delivering those to your mailbox on December the 21st. And you can also get them later, but they'll be a little bit more expensive. You can also get each sign separately, and that will be $14.95 per sign. So check out the link below. I put a lot of love into those. They're great Christmas presents. They're virtual stocking stuffers to buy somebody's sun, moon, or ascendant sign year ahead. I always say go for your ascendant sign first, and then next the moon sign. Okay, I mean, and then the ascendant first, moon if you're born at night, and the sun if you're born in the day. Okay, so let's get going on to this moon. This is really a cool moon because it is going to be taking the solar eclipse of June 21st, 2020. And it's going to be actually taking that eclipse further and kind of bringing something to fruition from that sort of new moon. New moon is a solar eclipse on the summer solstice. So I want you to go back and think about June 21st at roughly a month and what was percolating in your life back then that might have invited some inspiration, some change, some ideas about what you might want to change, because a lot of what's happening in this moon, the square from Chiron and the sextile from Uranus to the Cancer full moon was happening as well, but in a much milder or less intense way in the summer of 2020 in June/July. So an example would be, I remember in July, I decided I wanted to write a fiction book again. I haven't done that for years. And I actually began to concoct an idea in my mind, and a story began to evolve in my head. Now I'm finding as I approach this full moon, I've already written the first chapter, and I wrote the first chapter a week ago on an airplane. And so now there's something coming to fullness. So you see, there's a bookend there. I think I'm finding the genesis, but I might be wrong. I'm not too sure. I'm not too sure yet. What will this full moon invite me to do with inspiration or sudden change or aha or eureka from the sextile from Uranus and Taurus to this moon, and the square from Chiron sitting in Aries as well. And that is, a pressure energy from the healer, the wounded healer, who sometimes is both the magician and the sorcerer and brings us goodness, but also he can show us where some of our woundedness is so that we can reveal the power beneath the wound. It's like often the things that are our greatest wounds can become our greatest strengths. A cliche, but true. So Chiron is moving through Aries right now. And so therefore, that part of the chart is where in your chart, he's operating for his duration there. He will be there for quite a long time, almost 8 or 9 years. And he just got into Aries recently in 2019. So he's really healing a whole terrain in each of our charts, right? So it's interesting for me because my third house is my house of self-expression, including writing. And I think he's healing my long lost dream to write a best-selling fiction novel, because whether you know it or not, I am an award-winning short fiction writer. So I'm not talking out my back of my butt there. I can write. So I want to also mention that this is a very interesting tie-in to Neptune as well. Neptune is sitting around the 18th degree, is at the 18th degree of Pisces. And during this actual moon itself, the sun is sitting across the way, roughly up, it's eight and change at 9 degrees. So the sun is at 9 degrees, Mercury's at 14 degrees of Capricorn. And you can see that Mercury's just been talking to the sun, and now he's left the sun. He's got his marching orders when he went kazemi into the heart of the sun on the 19th, around the 19th of December. Now he's moving forward. The sun is at 14 degrees and will be moving forward, of course, as well, marching ahead and come into contact with Neptune in terms of being in a degree-based aspect to Neptune in the sign of Pisces. Let me show this to you because it's in my head, but it might help if you see what I'm talking about. because I do think the promise of this moon has something to do with receiving inspiration and potentially some dramatic and exciting changes of circumstances from Uranus that allow us to fulfill a lost dream, a hidden inspiration, a goal that really matters to us. All right, so here's the December 29th, 2020 sky. Now, I find it interesting that there we go. There's the sun sitting at 8 degrees and there's Neptune at 18. So we know that in 10 days after this, the sun will be in a harmonious sextile to Neptune, the god of higher imagination, unconditional love, oceanic awareness of the oneness of all, ruler of storytelling, visual arts like filmmaking, movie making. I think of, anyone who writes novels, for instance, you're making scenes in your imagination. That's so Neptunian. So what I get from this energy, and also you'll see Neptune very prominent in musical artists as well, who create stories with songs. So here's this really beautiful connection that the sun will make after the 10 days after this full moon. And I think that's an important variable in this because, there's this conversation, right, between the sun and the moon, and then the sun goes forward and hooks up with Neptune with a dream, a goal, or a vision. The Grand Cross is still there in the sky. It's been there for a while, and now Venus is added to the mix. So basically, it's a long-lasting T-square formed by the nodes to Neptune. We've been talking about that in other videos, and it becomes a Grand Cross or Grand Square because of Vesta's the asteroid Vesta, the sacred flame, the devotional one, the dedicated one, the Vestal Virgin of the priestesshood, holding the corner over there in Virgo, which is happy, and Virgo is very priestessy anyway and magical. This is creating a kind of collective tension, right? This is a huge crucifixion vibration in a way on the nodal axis. And suddenly we get Venus joining in on the south node. And now that means that Venus, goddess of love, art and beauty, peace, conciliation, even though she's got a bit of a fiery spirit there in Sagittarius, the archer, she's in the mode of letting go. It's like she's kind of shedding her gown and tossing her makeup away and wiping down her makeup. I always think of her as a bit of a diva. I mean, she's shedding, letting go, releasing. And in our own lives, I wonder what that represents for each of us, because, depending on the Sagittarius zone of your chart, Venus on the south node in a big crucifixion, Grand Cross kind of vibe is now participating in a end of a love story, an end of a pleasure, an end of a dream that has to do with her wheelhouse. It could also be she's a goddess of money as well, and a letting go of a money situation, a letting go of a money story. There's a lot that could be. I mean, Sagittarius often involves beliefs, getting rid of beliefs about love, beliefs about money, beliefs about lovability. I mean, so there's a huge release going on in that cross individually for each of us. And the exactness of it will depend often on where that south node is transiting in the eclipse cycle. For me, that south node, for instance, is transiting in my 11th house of hopes, dreams, and wishes, but also affiliations and friendships. Am I going to really deeply let go of an old hope, dream, or wish and open up to some new one? And so each of you can, get an astrology reading with somebody like me to find out more about how this applies so specifically in your chart. So when I look at this moon, one of the things I want to note is that it's on two stars. It's on the star Mirzam and Alhena. Alhena is way more precise. It's just about exactly on Alhena. But Mirzam is also in orb of influence. So I'll start backwards. Mirzam is the announcer star. It's often with people who have a strong Mirzam, have a flair for announcing things, for communications. I have Mirzam on a very tight place in my chart, a very sweet spot. So you can always think of it as a place where you have an ability to, with a flair for communication, announce something to the world, a message of some kind. So so the moon is kind of talking about messages, right? And wondering, do we have a message? Do we have something we want to, communicate? But more tightly bound to the moon is Alhena. Now, Alhena is a star that means a couple of things. The shining one It's also in Arabic, it meant the brand, and they meant like the brand, a tattoo or a brand on like an animal's neck, like a camel. Now we think of a brand like my brand, you know, my astrology brand, Lunatic Astrology, etc. But you know, it is the same word, right? When we branded an animal, we meant it belonged to us and it was our piece of property. And somehow the word branding and a brand is a similar thing. You know, this is unique signature of my brand. These are my colors. These are my catchphrases and stuff. So this new moon is on both of those, the idea of a shining one and the brand energy. Alhena is a positive star. It's in one of the feet of the Gemini constellation, the twins. And it also is a star that is connected to Venus and Mercury. So the goddess of art and love and money and beauty, and Mercury, the messenger. And, you know, in the Ptolemaic iteration of this is giving a person a good gift for the arts and artistry, but also a gift for writing. And now the moon is there. So depending on where the moon is, you're going to have this kind of artistic awakening or opening and a fullness that comes to fruition there. Because don't forget, go back to that solstice, guys. What was going on for you during the solstice, June 21st at about 28 days? What was percolating back in June and July of 2020 that could now be coming to fruition in what part of your chart? The Cancer part of your chart, where the moon is sitting. So I will share the all signs thing about that. Now, lastly, Uranus back in the day, back in this summer solstice was also already sextiling the new moon eclipse of the solstice of the 21st of June. He's doing it again. He's doing the same thing on this full moon. And that's because he's, of course, sitting over here in Taurus, and the moon is here at almost 9 degrees of Cancer. And what we see is that he's in a tighter sextile. Back then he was further away, I think. I'm not sure where he was exactly, but I don't think he was as tight. Yeah, he wasn't. The moon was at 0 and he was at 9. So back in June, he was at 9 degrees away from the moon. And you give the moon a 13-degree orb anyway, but now he's really, really close, right? He's almost 8 degrees, 9, and this is a 9 degrees. So 7, sorry, so like 2 degrees off. So Uranus is something unexpected. So here's the problem. In astrology, trying to predict what that darn thing is going to do is like trying to I don't know. I don't even know. I can't even think of a good analogy. It's difficult. Some unexpected breakthrough in the story here. Now, depending on your sign, you know, your rising sign, especially where this breakthrough will come through will be relevant to your rising sign, but also to your sun sign. So where the moon sits is relevant to this breakthrough, this sudden event, this insight, this download, this sudden change of circumstances. And it's also possibly with Uranus, like an original idea or a bit of an aha or an intellectual property vibe coming into manifestation of fullness with that moon. And that Chiron square that's been going on, squaring the moon, squaring the sun for the Cancer solstice new moon or eclipse is still here, didn't go anywhere, right? So boom, there's that square. What needs to be healed? What does Chiron want you to like dig into? I think he's also like the magician, right? Abracadabra, walk in water, raise the dead. You know, he's got the vibe. So think about it that way too. What is going to, through some tension, force you to break on through to the other side, to something really powerful and maybe way more magical than you normally engage in. I am going to just draw a card from the deck, the Angels and the Ancestors Oracle, for the meaning of this moon for most of us. And I just feel like a deck today. I'm in the mood. In the deck, in the mood. The Shaman card. That's no surprise because one of Chiron's monikers is the Maverick Shaman. Trust in higher forces. Trust in higher forces. Well, I love that. You know, 2 fixed stars, Mirzam and Alhena, are higher forces for one thing. They're celestial cheerleaders. They're closer to heaven than we are. They're closer to the divine mind. Then the shaman energy is very much a chironic energy, but trusting in higher forces. I'm going to leave you with the key word, okay, on this moon, trusting in higher forces. Now I'm going to go back to me because I'm going to do the all signs portion and I'm not going to spend much time looking at the chart, right? So let's go back. Let me do a little delineation. If you were an Aries rising, let's just play with this for those of you who are learning astrology and you want to visualize this. If your rising sign is Aries, which is the setup for here, then basically basically you can see Chiron is healing your identity. All of us Aries energies, I'm an Aries sun and moon, are having a healing of a sense of self, healing our body, getting better with our health, and also our sense of who we are. But we also know then, but if we keep going with this, that Chiron, healing our body during this moon and our sense of self is also going to zap us in the place where we live, the root of safety, our home, our nest, and it's going to zap us in our public profile, our outer world expression, our career, where we're being so darn resourceful all the time, Aries. Yes, we are. Sun, moon, and ascendants. And so the idea is that a changing or a healing around the home story. Yeah, maybe a change of home. Why? Because look, boom, Uranus, zap, home. So there you go. I'm going to go do this a little bit more in depth. But you know what? No, I'm not. This is what Aries gets. Aries gets the whole shebang. You get the picture. So Aries, what does it mean for you to have this blessed, creative artist, performer, poet of the zodiac, truth seeker, Alhena star on this moon in your fourth house of home, the nest, the security base, when you get a zap from Uranus from the house of money and earnings and self-possessions? And you've got healing going on about who you are and who you are in relationship to your home and who you are in relationship to your career. What does that possibly look like? I don't know. I think that maybe you guys are going to move. So there you go. I think it's in my chart. It's in my other chart too, my Aquarius rising in its own way. So a relocation, when? Well, you might get a sense of where you want to move in the 30 days after the moon, or the 28 days after the full moon, or you may already have an inkling, right? And you may be just percolating something about a plan, because full moons can bring things into action and fruition, because it's about the ripening, harvesting, fruiting of something. And, the other thing is, and I'm in Vancouver now, visiting where I lived for 15 years, and it's dreary and rainy here, and it's dark right now. And I'm like, ooh, would I ever want to move back here? Would this ever feel like home again? I love the sunny, cold weather of the east coast of Canada. So, the idea of what to nurture at home is big, big, big on this moon for all of the Aries sun, moon, and ascendants. But some breakthrough, especially in the finance picture, could open the gateways and the floodgates to some financial opportunity that also is connected to where you want to move and what you want to do in your what you want to do when you grow up in your career zone up here. You're resourceful, Capricornian, solid, 10th, practical 10th house. So stay tuned for that. Maybe some of you will win the lottery or just go into a big money ka-ching. An inheritance could even come. You never know. Uranus is activating the 8th house of inheritance. So some money could come to you. And it could really help liberate you and find a true home where you can be artistic and creative and feel safe. It Cancer, fourth house, Aries love to be safe in their sanctuaries, and they take great satisfaction in the home sanctuary. And they love to cook in their home sanctuaries, most Aries sun, moon, and ascendants. And then, up in the top of the chart, there is that, call from the square to Chiron saying, is there a need for a reorientation or a deeper healing around what you want to do to express soul energy in your career? And Mercury has been communicating with the sun and has just left the sun, and it's going to talk to Neptune, the god of higher imagination, in the house of your dreams at night and Akashic records and downloads. So there you go, Aries. You got special treatment. Everyone got to see the chart while I yattered on about you. All right, I'm going to exit. Back to me. I'm going to talk about the Taurus story. Now, one of the things I want to say is that your own chart is very specific. It has a lot of elements that don't show up in a general reading. If ever you want a session with me, just check my description box below. Okay, so Taurus, sun, moon, and ascendant. Let's talk about the natal third house, where the whole of the lunar energy is. The house of your siblings, the house of trips and travel, and also the house of your local friends, the buds in your neighborhood. Things like the pub and the restaurant in your local community are often in the third house. It gets really weird that way, that the third house can be so specific when I look at people's charts. So, a lot of restaurant owners actually have huge third houses. So very active third houses. So in what way are you looking to discover a real deep sense of creative, fulfilling, spiritual, and earnest nourishment, the full moon in Cancer, by connecting with people like siblings, yes, but also the hood? And what is the right neighborhood for you? Are you in your right neighborhood? you Taurus, sun, moon, and ascendants. Do you need to move? Do you need to find a better neighborhood? You know, we're not talking about moving across, you know, to Bali from North America. That's not a neighborhood. That's a country. The third house is the zone of where you live. A domestic move within a move or a reorientation of neighborhood in relationship to your natal country, the way you live, the country you live in. The third house is self-expression, and the moon is on a great star for that, right? Alhena, for writing and self-expression, for art, because Venus and Mercury are the nature of the star. And Roderick Kidman says it's the star of the poets, the performers, the artists, and the truth seekers. She has delineated a lot of the stars for the software program I use. So I really like that as well for you guys. The Tauruses are already Venus ruled, right? And Venus is just on the south node during this particular moon, releasing, softening, and surrendering something that's not really true, that really doesn't fit who you are. You know, Venus is like in Sagittarius, just sort of letting it all go, letting it slide. Where do you need to let go of some kind of thing that you thought was important that isn't really that important? And Venus will pick up a new costume on the other end of this, and she'll put on a new garb. And what else do I want to say about that? Let me just look at the chart for a sec. Not with you guys, though, just for myself. Yeah, so for you Taurians, then, you won't believe how many astrologers have to have a visual cue to line up the houses as if you're rising as Taurus. So for you guys, that's also the zone Taurus rising, sun and moon, but Taurus rising. The Sagittarius zone is the zone of your 8th house. The 8th house of inheritances, the 8th house of other people's money, a deep occult wisdom and mystery. So Venus is letting go of something in that place for you, releasing it. And I'm bringing up this Venus connection because you're Taurus ruled, right? Taurus is a Venus's sign. Sometimes, you know, 8th house can be letting go of our own really dark fears and our own debilitating thoughts about ourselves and who we really think we are. Like it's the personal unconscious. You may be doing a little bit of psychic house cleaning and letting go of the things that Venus will let go of when she's in the 8th house. Fear about not having enough money, clinging to a lack of sense of self-worth, fearing you're not beautiful or attractive in some way, or likable or lovable. So there's a little psychology to this. The jolt of Uranian energy, you know, coming out of your 1st house. Uranus for your Taurus sun, moon, and ascendants is doing an identity overhaul, changing your how you think you are, who you are, the game on the game board. You know, if I've radical change of identity, right? Maybe, you know, I've always been super studious and disciplined and I study really hard. And all of a sudden Uranus enters the 1st house of a Taurus and you're like a party girl, a lackadaisical, and you hardly study and you don't give a hoot about your exams. That's an example for what could happen with Uranus just changing up that Taurus zone of the chart and creating a new identity. What do you need to flush down the toilet, you guys? Because my daughter flushed a toilet nearby and I think you could have heard that. So is there something you literally need to flush away? Because that could be that 8th house of Venus saying time to let go. Worthiness. Okay, Taurus, sun, moon, and ascendants. All right, Gemini, this is a 2nd house moon for you guys. Now, a 2nd house moon is really quite about your own self-worth and self-possession. The thing I just mentioned for the Taurians a minute ago, you know, the moon is going to bring you a way of trying to nourish your own self as well. I mean, the 2nd house is what we put in our mouth. So it comes out, it's our throat and our mouth, and what comes in and out. So you might find that there's an orientation from this full moon to really look again at how you can nourish yourself. What foods do you need? What foods and drinks do you not need? Right? Both sides of the coin. What do you need? What do you don't need? This is where it gets really tricky for you guys because, you know, technically you Geminis are up here. You're in your head. You're always thinking. And yet the place where food comes in and out is emotional for you, right? It's Cancerian. And so I'm going to ask you to tune into your body and just really sit with, you know, can you actually feel what your body wants you to do? I have a funny thing I do. I'm going to teach you guys. I stand on pieces of paper that I cut out, little index cards. And I asked for things like, is it my highest and best good to eat this food, that food, or this food or that food? Because I have a very strong intellect and my mind can get in the way of my body's wisdom. And I let my body rock forward for yes and backwards for no and neutral for doesn't matter. And I tell you, it has never steered me wrong. And I use it for lots of other things too. So find a way to let your body speak to you, your Gemini, sun, moon, and ascendants, to know what is truly nourishing that you're eating and drinking in your life, and to let go of what is not nourishing. All right. Just time to let go. And then the 12th house of your chart is where Uranus has been transiting. He'll be there quite a while longer, till 2026, and he's been there since 2019. This, for you Geminis, is excavating and electrifying and jolting past life stuff. It's also jolting your dreams at night. I could think a transit of Uranus through your 12th house could give you very powerful dreams. And you may never have thought of yourself as a psychic being or an intuitive being, but you can have incredible downloads, like insights and, big dreams with Uranus going through that part of the chart. Again, the 12th house can be addictions, self-undoing. And what will Uranus do? He will force your hand like a thunderbolt, like electricity, a jolt of light, a jolt of electricity. Time to let go very quickly, maybe, of self-defeating addictions and behavior patterns. Now, this moon, it could force your hand then, right? Because of that, in a good way, though. It's a sextile from Uranus, so it'll be changed, but it won't feel like hardship. Chiron squaring this moon from your first house of identity. Is that right? I'm having a pause. Where is Chiron sitting in your chart? Hang on, let me go look at your Geminis. I'm having a moment. Give me a sec while I pull up your chart. This is what happens when I don't write this stuff down and I try to use my mind. So let's go back a bit. Aries, you're fine. Taurus, sorry about that. So when I talked about Chiron, I misspoke and I almost did it for Gemini. So for Taurus, Chiron is in your 12th house and he's trying to heal your deep, subtle psychological stuff, your past lives, your inner life, your addictions, your self-defeating habits and patterns, bringing them to light for you. Okay, so and he will bring that more to light during this full moon. So I'll put a correction in the description box below. And I'm so sorry. I don't think you're going to get it though, because you're probably not listening to the Geminis, and I don't know how to edit my videos to fix it that way. I'll get my daughter to put a correction in with a banner. Okay, and she's going to do that editing for me. Hopefully she'll figure it out. Sorry. All right, and then Gemini, I was just about to screw you up too. So your 11th house is where this Chiron sits. And so, yeah, because of course, your 11th house is Aries. And so one of the things I'd say, I didn't ever memorize alphabetical order in school properly, and nor my times tables. For some reason, I was really challenged there. Well, I know my alphabetical order, but I'm a little slow and my times tables are fucked up. So excuse my language. So, this is my brain. Okay. So my brain on Lori. So Gemini, the energy of Chiron is coming from your 11th house of social networks, hopes, dreams, and wishes, and friends, squaring the moon in the second house of nourishment and nurturance. What friends are going to nurture you? What healing do you need by changing your social networks and groups of people? What hope, dream, and wish is truly nourishing for you, that really supports you, that's a true dream, that brings you like literal physical and emotional and financial nourishment, the second house. Don't leave yourself high and dry. Let this moon inspire you, okay? Moving on then. Cancer, of course, the moon is in your first house of your identity. Where else could it be, right? You're a Cancer, sun, moon, or ascendant, but idea of ascendant is in your first house. So Cancer, sun, moon, and ascendants, especially ascendant, go back. Think about your life back at the solstice and into the month of July. In what ways was being really true to you and starting in a new beginning, a fresh start, solar eclipse, showing up subtly or dramatically in your story? One of the Cancer stories is boundaries. Did you put up some new boundaries in your life? Were you drawing some new firm lines? Were you trying to find out who you really are in a new way and be self-loving, self-nourishing, and self-accepting of yourself, because the new moon on the solstice and now the full moon are in you, in your sign, really. Now, don't forget, there's the star, the performer, the poet, the announcer, Mirzam, those Alhena, Mirzam there. What ways are you getting ready, full moon fruition, to discover what inspires you creatively, that you might want to be the announcer of or the creator of some endeavor, project, idea of self-expression, but by virtue of you being you, you be you, Cancer rising. A jolt of suddenness comes out of your 11th house. So from the house of pennies from heaven. So some of you Cancer, sun, moon, and ascendants might come into some money. The house of, windfalls, basically. The house of promotions and upticks in your public status. The house of your hopes, dreams, and wishes. You may have a sudden change in your dreams and your goals, right? You may have a new download thanks to Uranus. It's more connected to who you really are. Be you being that Cancer ascendant, you being that nourishing, protective, fiercely loving, empathetic being that you are, having that all being called to the forefront in terms of aligning it with a hope, dream, and wish, aligning it with the people you choose to have company with, the friends and alliances and allies of your life. The 10th house, I got this right now. So sorry about the screw up. The 10th house is the Cancer house, is for Cancers, is where the Chiron is happening, Chiron and Aries in your 10th. So, Chiron entered your 10th house of career, you Cancers, in 2019. And hello, you're trying to heal the career zone or your reputation or your praxis or the real action you're here to take in the world. Now, Chiron's journey won't be done until 2026, and it also can be a time of deep discovery of where your woundedness is about being that public person or having that career path. But also the big reveal is something is a superpower that Chiron wants to show you in your career zone. Where is that superpower? And, the Chironic journey in this respect of being in the 10th house can lead you to become Chironic for the world, to become a mentor of others, a guide for others, a healer for others. Chiron is the healer. So some of you Cancers are already mentors and guides. I know a couple Cancers and healers, but bringing that up to a new level, more so than before. And maybe some inspiration coming to you on the moon. And this is yours to run with, right? This moon is the ruler for you. It's your planet. It's your luminary. You're a Cancer, and now it's got these beautiful stars, Mirzam and Alhena on it. I don't know. You can't ask for a better moon for you, Cancer, sun, moon, and ascendants. Yay for you guys. All right. Let's go to Leo, and I keep looking over at my notes. Yeah, I do have like a cheat sheet, guys, because in a way I'm gonna my brain can do this without a visual aid. So Leo, you guys are having a 12th house experience. This moon is in your dreams at night. This moon is percolating something in the past life zone. You can also look at it, this deep reservoir of the interdimensional awareness, this place where you can talk to archangels and discover the deeper occult mysteries and channel something from the Akashic records. So I love the 12th house. It's spiritual liberation. It's enlightenment. Are you thinking about a little bit of enlightenment? Because if you're looking for some enlightenment, this moon can really bring it to you. Now, and it's because it's on these beautiful stars, and especially the Alhena being so tightly bound to it. Can you call something from deep within your inner dream life at night, or your visions or your meditations, that's deeply inspiring to you? You want to create artistically or in writing or self-expressing. This moon could bring up your creative cauldron, Leo, sun, moon, and ascendants. Now, the 10th house is where Uranus is jolting a bolt of light, and was doing a light version of it at the solstice, but now a really intense, tight jolt of change, inspiration, downloads, new ideas, or something. Who knows what he's going to give you, but he's doing the jolt from the 10th house of career. Now, this could be like, I want to get the hell out of my job, or my career path sucks and I don't like it anymore. Because, it's coming into that energy from the 10th to the 12th, where sometimes things in the 12th are your own self undoing. Like, are you in a job that you hate? Are you driving yourself to the grinding yourself to the ground? Is there something about you're undoing through career, and now you really want to step back and reassess it in a whole new light? Uranus might force your hand because he's in the career house. Like, the company you work for closes down, the boss fires you, the boss leaves the company and you leave with them. I don't know. It's just things are going to change, right? Because of that. And I think it's going to be very tangible, even though the moon is in a very hidden house, like imaginal and hidden, and often doesn't show up. And it's a behind the scenes house. Okay. It means that probably in the 30 days that follow, you're not changing your job. There's not a change in your career. But in the 28, 30 days that follow, behind the scenes, you're telling the boss or the company, I'm not going to be there, or they're telling you that you're not going to be there. It's more like hidden change, but it will become real eventually, right? When? Probably 6 months after, when we have the next new moon in Cancer season in the summer. All right. All right. So what else? The 10th house. Yeah, Chiron. Oh, no, I'm in Leo. Sorry, Leo. The 9th house, Leo. This is where you're getting chironic wounding and healing. Chiron there, 2019 to 2026 or seven. Can't remember right now. And Chiron in your 9th house of God, truth, soul, wisdom, but also Dharma. It's a Dharma house. It's what's my true purpose? What am I here for? La da da. How do I align with being purposed by the universe, like that Saint Francis of Assisi, Lord, make me an instrument of your peace. That's a 9th house refrain. I need to do a little chart where I give each of the 9 houses a special saying. I think I'm going to do that for fun. And I would say for that, it's Lord, make me an instrument. So it is the house of religion, house of God, house of Dharma. So in what way are you being catalyzed by Chiron squaring the moon to ask yourself a deeper question? Do I need to go back to school even? 9th house is higher ed, college, university, or studying something online that you get a certificate, diploma, or a degree in, like Hellenistic astrology with my teacher, Adam Ellen Boss Nightlight Astrology at Chutababa. Is a program that takes a year, and he's got a Kickstarter on now till the end of the year. I think it's still on till January 1st or something. Grab it, because you can do his program for half price. And that's how I learned Hellenistic astrology after years of being a modern astrologer. And it was a game changer for me. There's a plug for that course. Just Google Nightlight Astrology and join his Kickstarter. There you go. That is a diploma, like you get it like a little certificate. Takes a year, you get a test at the end. That's a 9th house kind of education, especially given that it's 9th house is also a yogic house and involves astrology. So I would say to you guys, you might even have a vision to ditch the career, some of you, Leo, Sun, Moon, and Ascendants, and start percolating a new direction also of study. All right. Also, 9th house is foreign lands. Do you really like the country you're living in? If the wounded healer is going through your 9th house, you may not. Yeah, but that's a longer arc. He'll be there for quite a while. Virgo, Sun, Moon, and Ascendants. You're having the moon in your natal 11th house. And you guys, if I look all wiggly, it's because I'm sitting on the most uncomfortable bar stool. It swivels, which is great, but it's not comfy right now because I can't put my feet on it. It's got like a sharp edge on it on the bottom where you would put your feet. And I don't wear shoes half the time. And I came to Vancouver with boots only. So I'm really not comfy in this chair. So excuse the wiggles. Virgo, Sun, Moon, and Ascendants. The woman's house I'm staying in is a Virgo rising and a Virgo sun. This is for you, Sylvia. So this new moon is happening, full moon is happening in your 11th house. Now, this is a house of your social networks, your friendship groups, your allies, your hopes, dreams, and wishes, your pennies from heaven, your reputation and your success and your great gains financially from your career. This is a fullness, something going on maybe around the solstice that is now coming to fruition, that brings fullness of great gains from your career, fullness of hopes, dreams, and wishes, fullness of new friendships culminating in some way. Your creativity and your inspiration is there. The Alhena star, the nature of Venus, do you want to partake of some artistic inspiration? Or is it about your Venusian collaborative friends, right? Because Venus is women friendships and sisterhood. And with this moon culminating with this star, Alhena, This could really be about refortifying some of your female friendships now, or finding new ones even. So also the Uranian bolt, the jolt, or whatever you want to call it, is coming from your ninth house. The ninth house of your education, higher education, colleges, campuses, learning, foreign lands, and your dharma. I'm wondering if there's going to be a change, like if, you know, this girlfriend whose house I'm staying in is a Virgo rising. She's in a foreign land now. She's visiting Hawaii. What if the jolt is she doesn't come back from Hawaii because they decide to shut down international flights or something in and out of Canada? I just don't know. It's just kind of a thought. But also for some of you Virgos, sun, moon, and ascendants, like my daughter is a Virgo rising, you guys might want to change your school. This moon may incite you to think about new directions in education, or changes in your major, or even changes in the school that you're going to, different school. But with Uranus, it's a sextile. It's a good change. It's not dramatically harmful. It's exciting with a sextile. Okay, something exciting and good coming into your life from the ninth. The eighth house is where the wounded Chiron healer energy is. Woundedness around your unconscious, your fears, your anxieties, your unconscious beliefs about, or thoughts about who you might really be. Woundedness around money, money that you don't own, like bank money, loans, other people's money, inheritance money. You know, I know a Virgo rising who had a mini inheritance and just spent it all. It was just gone, instantly gone during the wounded healer's transit of this woman's eighth house. So you may feel woundedness around resources that aren't yours, like bank loans and inheritances, and not feeling like you're doing a good job with it. Don't worry. Chiron is teaching you a deeper mystery, a deeper message about money and value and worth. And, you know, we are not our money, and our worth is not our financial bank balance. Okay. So just don't worry about that right now. And some of you Virgo, sun, moon, and ascendants will have really good, you know, money stuff in that part of the chart in general. But with the wounded healer going through there, you know, you might have to really reassess, is the savings account, investment portfolio, loans, leverages, etc., is that really that important to me? Is that where I really want to focus my energy? I mean, maybe not, because Mars just barreled through there for you as well when he went through your eighth house for 6 months in June to the end of this year, 2020. You might be reassessing those parts of your life. Watch out for the stock market collapsing in 2021. If any of you guys are highly invested in equities, I don't think that's a safe place, but I'm not your financial advisor. That's about it. Virgo, sun, moon, and ascendant. Libra. This is a 10th house, particularly important moon. The 10th house is an important house. It's the stake of the chart, just like the first house for Cancer and the fourth house for Aries. These are important places. So the moon is happening, Libra, sun, moon, and ascendant, in your highest part of the chart, your career, your reputation, your status in the world, you know, the work you probably do, your praxis or action in the world. And you're going to have this fruition of this full moon, bringing into a fullness and a full light, something that you may have been percolating in, beginning in the solstice time frame of that new moon eclipse on solstice, June 21st. The eighth house is where the bolt of energy is coming from Uranus, bank loans, money, inheritances, money that you get from business partnerships, and all of that. It's good news though, because Uranus is sextiling from the money house, your house of career. You could secure a financial backer or a partner for a career endeavor. You could get a loan, a bank loan for a business project. So money and career are happening through something rather unexpected and sudden, because that's Uranus's way, but good for you. Now, your seventh house, I should say, of love story and relationship is where the woundedness is. Chiron's been going through there since 2019. We'll be there until, I don't know, end of 2026, I think at least. But it doesn't mean it's all bad. You're trying to heal how you relate to other so that you can bring in wholeness and magic into the zone of marriage and long-term commitment and business partnerships. I know a Libra rising in a business partnership who's had some difficulties as Chiron entered her seventh house with a particularly challenging collaborator in her business. Well, no kidding. That's going to happen with Chiron in your 7th house. Ultimately, it will propel you to come to a deeper, more magical way of connecting with business partners. All right. Probably wondering what I'm doing. This is a perfume custom made for me, Lori's perfume. And it was made by a woman who took my Do What You Love course. And she's a custom bespoke perfume maker. And I smell this thing. Her name is Georgia Lima. Maybe I'll put a link to her website below. And oh my God, guys, I can't get enough of this stuff. And this is not like a planned plug for her. It's just not. Is that I love the smell of my custom perfume. Every time I smell it, for me, it like grounds me and brings me back home. It's so earthy and it was so perfect. And I loved how we collaborated with Zoom to come up with samples and then the perfect fragrance. Okay, moving on. Plug for Georgia Lima. I will put her link in the description box below if you want a custom perfume for yourself or a friend. Okay, I lost my train of thought, Libra. So your 7th house, your healing, business and love partnership stuff, and your relationship to clients and your relationship to audience and other. And during this square to the full moon, there could be some tension that comes to the story, right? Just that's it. You're going to have some tension there. And the tension may also connect to where the sun is in the home, in the 4th house of your chart. So that's actually good to have the sun down there because the sun is beaming a lot of light in your nest, your sanctuary, your home. But there's that moon up at the 10th house, and that Chiron square to the moon in the 10th is where is there tension between your others and your business or your career path. Okay. 7th house can be contracts and negotiations as well. So are you going to sign a contract or negotiation regarding a career thing? And if so, does it feel tense and gritty? Because it is a square from Chiron. See if you can find your sweet spot, as you Libras are prone to do, and to communicate in a diplomatic way, but while having a healthy boundary and standing up for what you really, really want. Because, you know, Chiron is in Aries, and that's all about the warrior with his boundaries and his sword. Alrighty. We're going to keep going. Scorpio. This is a 9th house moon, and this 9th house is a house of your Dharma, God, wisdom. This is Scorpio sun, moon, and ascendants, as always, and foreign lands and higher education and, you know, all of that. Do you want to move to a foreign land? I know a Scorpio son who's thinking she wants to move to Portugal eventually. Do you want to go back to school? I know a Scorpio rising who's thinking of going back and educating in a new direction. So these are themes that are not just for this moon, obviously. The reason I'm even bringing it up is that it's this energy of the Chiron and the Uranus that are applying from June, right? A question mark about the themes of the 9th house. So like, Uranus is in your 7th house, and he's jolting and bolting light through your business partnerships and your love relationships and your marriage partnership. One of my Scorpio rising clients had quite a disruptive first year of 2019-20 when Uranus was in his marriage house, and it was really challenging, but now it's all smoothed down, thank goodness. But there's a lot of desire for freedom when Uranus goes into the marriage house and a move away from codependence and relationships. So keep that in mind. For you Scorpio, sun, moon, and ascendants. Now, the good sextile jolt to the fruition in the 9th house from the 7th could mean that your spouse or a business partner offers you an opportunity out of the blue to do some 9th house thing, a trip to a foreign land, a suggestion for an educational direction, okay? A hint at your true Dharma. All right. Now, your 6th house is where you're getting the Chironic wound, the house of your work, your daily routines, your health, your service to the world, your karmic debt. A lot of Chiron in the 6th house can look like not liking the work you do, but doing it anyway, and feeling wounded in the workplace kind of thing. And, or even just the work environment is not very good for who you are. So does that mean you have to suffer through that till 2026? By no means. It means that you're healing this part of the chart. You're understanding that you have to find work that feels wholesome for who you are. Same with what you do for your health, workouts and food styles, sixth house stuff to stay away from being sick. You're healing things there so you can choose wisely. So that's a longer narrative, Scorpio, sun, moon, and ascendants, right? Because Chiron's doing that job for a long time. But during this moon, he's going to activate a square to your full moon in that ninth house and maybe say, do you want to take an education course that could create a new job direction? Do you want to take a learning that could create a new food style awareness? Do you want to take a trip to get the hell out of that horrible job? Those are all possibilities. Don't forget, every time you have a full moon, it comes back from the whatever was percolating back 6 months earlier in the new moon phase. And that was the summer solstice eclipse. So go back and think of some of the things you were doing in June and July of the summer of 2020. But the hiccups. Sagittarius, sun, moon, and ascendant. This is happening in your natal 8th house. Now, your 8th house is the house of death, but it's also the house of rebirth. It's the house of money that doesn't belong to you, like bank loans, sharing other people's money, spousal money, inheritances, all that good stuff. And it's also deep wisdom, occult mysteries, and magic. Sagittarius, you guys have a opportunity in the 8th house to look at your financial story and have some fullness come here. So in other words, something could fruit for you. Oh, you had an investment in Bitcoin and now it just topped out and you're going to sell it. You had an investment or a strategy around finances and now it's coming to fruition. And as well, if you have money that other people are involved in, but you participate in bank loans or business partnership endeavors, this is a good time for that to come to some new level of flourishing, fruiting, climaxing, and culminating. The 6th, now this is a pretty powerful moon with those beautiful stars on it. So it's probably all good, but the moon can be in a full moon in the 8th house, could be a female that you know may pass. I'm just going to say it, okay? You may have a female passing in your life. Just keep that in mind. Just have to say what I see, right? Like a mom, even a mom for you, some of you Sagittarius may pass maybe in the 28, 30 days after the full moon. Now, the 6th house is where Uranus is applying that jolt of light, the energy of the sextile of light coming into the story. Your 6th house is a house of your service and your karma and the work you do in your daily health routines. Coming to the 8th house, 6 and 8, well, one's a work house and one's a money house. And in a lot of ways, it could be some money coming to you that allows you to suddenly change your work environment. That's an example. Some money coming that could suddenly allows you to change the way you treat your body and your daily routines. Just get out of the grind, maybe. The 5th house is where Chiron is trying to heal things, heal your relationships to your children, with children in general, heal relationships with romance, romantic love, and sexuality, healing your inspiration and why you get out of bed in the morning. And where's that muse and where's that spark of joy, play, fun, and pleasure? Are you missing it? Some of you Sag, sun, moon, and ascendants, I bet you are. I've got one of them in mind right now. And wow, this Chironic healing is underway in your 5th house. And so Chiron squaring the full moon could be even tension with a female in your life, which gives you a breakthrough insight or clarity about where the wound is for you in your relationship to love and femininity, right? The moon. It doesn't mean it has to be, I'm not just talking to men who love women or whatever. I'm talking about the feminine principle of the moon as well. Do you receive well? Do you accept and allow love to come to you? I mean, what love hangups and romantic hangups and sex hangups and passion and creativity hangups are being healed right now by Chiron? And how does this moon show you in the light of that full moon where this wound is so it can be healed? Whoa, praise the Lord. Moving on. Capricorn. This is happening in your 7th house of love affairs, business partnerships, audience, and other. Now, this is coming out of that solstice too. Remember, so tie the solstice to this as well, summer solstice. So on the 7th house energies, this moon with Alhena, the poet, the performer, the artist, could literally mean a poet, performer, artist, or creative type enters your life. A full moon brings somebody into visibility, into your visible sphere where you corresponding, communicating, connecting with someone Capricorns in the summer that now is going to show up in a real solid way for you in your life, where you dating someone and now you're going to live together or get engaged or something. Who knows? That's a fullness, a culminating, beautiful, glorious Alhena, Mirzam. Will you make an announcement? Mirzam's the announcer. How many of you Capricorn, Sun, Moon, and Ascendants will announce to the world that you and your beloved are getting married, engaged, moving in together, etc.? The jolt of light is from the 5th house of babies and love affairs and pregnancy. Be careful if you don't want a baby and Uranus has been transiting your 5th house. Is classic accidental pregnancy signature, especially, well, just it is. So, you're under accidental pregnancy pressure for you or your beloved with that transit of Uranus in that part of your chart for a while. But it also means you'll be very eccentric and freedom loving with your love affairs, your creativity, your art, your muse, etc. Uranus in the 5th house can give you pineal gland downloads, great new ideas, okay, regarding what you're inspired about. If you have an independent business, and how many Capricorns do? A lot of you. You're very resourceful. This will be maybe also a jolt of insight about your independent business direction, and the Chironic energy, and the Uranian energy applying some new insider inspiration for your independent business enterprise, your own company. The 4th house is where Chiron has been applying the wound pressure to heal something. That's your home, but that's your mom and dad too. It's a family of origin. More often it's the mom, but it can also be the dad represented in the 4th house. And so healing your parental wounds, family of origin stories, getting out of the hooks of the family system. Chiron's trying to unhinge that for you, Capricorn, Sun, Moon, and Ascendant. I know a Cap Ascendant I'm thinking of right now, and I say that's very true since Chiron entered that part of his chart in 2019. The 4th house is your home. You may not want to be where you are. You might be living in the wrong home, the wrong house, the wrong city, the wrong town, the wrong community for you. You may feel ill at ease and like you don't really belong or feel comfortable. And the wounded healer is trying to change that for you. It's not a forever stuck place. Did I get that right? Yeah. Yep. Now, Aquarius, Sun, Moon. I'm sorry, Cap, but there's not much else to say. I'm going to heal the home, heal the family system, heal the parental wounds. No big deal, right? Nope. You've got this love affair, jolt and light coming and inspiration. Oh, the 5th house is money luck. What? I almost forgot that, you guys. Speculation and money luck. How many of you Capricorn, Sun, Moon, and Ascendants are ready to win the lottery with a business partner or a partner? Woo! Okay, so I bought a lottery ticket with my ex-husband who's a Capricorn rising. That's why I'm so excited. All right, dude, his name is Fergus. Let's win that lottery ticket together because I am your business partner in this endeavor. And you've got this money luck, new moon coming up, full moon coming up with a jolt of Uranian light. Oh my God. This really works out, guys. Believe me, you'll hear in the next video. All right, finally, last 2 down the pipeline. Let's do me. I'm an Aquarius rising, and yes, it is the dawning of the age of Aquarius, at least in terms of the Saturn, Jupiter conjunction of Kings. Check the description box for my latest video on that, or just go back and look at my other videos. I may even get my daughter to do a little pop-up for that right now because it's really, really worth listening to. So we're all excited, especially Aquarius risings, about this new life that we're all headed into, a new beginning for us of being us and everything about me be me, working out better in the world. So the 6th house is where the moon is. Now, this is the house of our work that we do. I'm an astrologer. I have a Zoom call with people. I have charts that I cast. It's sort of like the workspace is a kitchen or a living room because I work from home. So kind of like the work routines, the work supplies, the way the work looks. And it's also, exercise and food styles. And like, oh my gosh, I really need to figure out a new exercise style because I don't have one anymore. I fell apart during COVID and I don't do anything. So the new moon is trying to bring fruition and fullness to that and show me in the light of the moon and show all of his Aquarius better health and dietary and ways to be well and not be sick, because the sixth house is the house of sickness. And so there's a full reveal of clarity about how to be more well. And then the energy of the work has to change. It's just like the work has to change. There's something that's fulling and fruiting and fullness is happening, because there was a new beginning in the work area on the solstice of June 21st with a solar eclipse at 0 degrees of Cancer that this full moon is tying itself to. So in what ways do some of you Aquarians know that there's a change coming in the work you're doing? And how can you see maybe under the full light of a moon what that may be? Thank you, full moon. The fourth house is where Uranus has been journeying, the nomad transit. When Uranus crossed into my fourth house, my landlord in Vancouver decided to sell my house in 2018 fall. I catapulted from Vancouver to Montreal in the middle of the winter in January of 2020. And I'm going to move again because I cannot have Uranus transiting my fourth house, nor can any other Aquarians for a long time until like 2020 something, 26, without moving again. So anyway, what would this jolt of light do for some of us Aquariuses as it jolts our sixth house of work from a sextile in the house of home? Change our home and change our work. Change our work in our home, change our work routines in our home, change something about work and home in a good way, okay? Because it's a sextile, but suddenly and unexpectedly, or expectedly and suddenly. The third house is where Chiron is journeying, and that's the healing of sibling relationships, the healing of self-expression, the healing of our ability to sell, market, and merchandise sometimes, ability to come to a new layer in our being around the cadent house. Now, you know, the third house is a house of oracles. You know, according to Demetra George, and I think she's right, an astrologer who really, I love her work on the houses. And she does say that the house of God, the ninth house, is where we have like, you know, religion, and we have temples where we go, or churches. But the ninth house is more like the people's house, of the house of the goddess. And it's where we have casting the bones and throwing the stones and doing the tarot cards and sitting around the kitchen and divinating at home. And, you know, and I like to think of astrologers more often as a third house practice from a ninth house legacy, right? Astrology is a legacy of wisdom from the ninth, but we practice it like a third house divinator, like an oracle, right? So there you go. Now, it's the third house then for some of us Aquarius, sun, moon, and ascendants, where there's a healing going on. And I've never had more difficulty with one of my sisters since Chiron in 2019 entered into my house of siblings. I love both my sisters. We're all so close. But every now and then, siblings argue and siblings have challenges. And I've been going through some of them. So yeah, trying to go to a deeper level of healing with a sibling is one of my stories. Are you an Aquarius, sun, moon, or ascendant trying to heal sibling content? This is your local neighborhood friends, your buddies, and at the coffee shop. Am I trying to heal it? I sure am. I moved to Montreal and I have no frigging friends there. I'm all by myself in my apartment all of the time. Okay, I'm like the COVID bubble of one, you know? So yeah, I need to find a new community and a new friendship circle. I haven't found it yet. And Chiron has just started that journey of more profound healing. Alrighty, it's a house of writing. Self-expression and writing, and I'm looking at healing some writing stuff. So what any of you Aquarius, sun, moon, and ascendant is looking at your self-expression as a zone of healing. Is once you heal it, Chiron is the magician and things get very magical. Never seen the chart of a novelist like a Stephen King without a very strong third house for writing and fifth house for the muse. Just FYI. If you're ever looking at your chart and going, should I write a book, or can I write, or should I create? Look for planets in your third and your fifth house. Third house more importantly, but fifth house as well. That's it. Let's get finally down to the Cancer, sun, moon, and ascendant. No, Cancer. I meant Cancer. Pisces, sun, moon, and ascendant. Your fifth house is where this moon is sitting. And your fifth house is the house of romantic love, your own children, your inspiration, your independent business, and your money luck, and all of that juice of that place. And, you know, it is a house of luck. This moon that was, riding off the eclipse, the new moon eclipse, new beginning eclipse of the solstice, June 21st, fruition and fruiting and fullness and culminating on the 29th of December, and giving you some new grace there. What is it regarding inspiration, money, luck, children, and maybe your own independent business that's ready to go to a new level? What are you being shown in the light of a full moon that can help you take it all to the next level? And your relationship with your children to the next level as well. The third house is the energy of the jolt. There's a jolt of light hitting you from the house of siblings. So a sibling could be an ally or a helper here, sextile light, to this jolt of goodness and inspiration, money and business stuff, and all of that. The jolt's coming also, third house, from local neighborhoods or short-term trips that are domestic. Are you going to take a trip in the 30 days that follow? Good luck with COVID, but you never know. And if you do, will it offer some new insight and development, inspiration and magic to your fifth house of creative expression, the muse, your art, your artistry, your children, and your babies are not just people that come out of you. Your babies are your books, your artworks, your projects, your sculptures. Okay. We have many, your business endeavors are babies that we birth in our fifth house. It's a very generative house. We generate, we procreate. It's a solar house. It's about our soul fire. How is your soul fire, right? Really being activated by a light of a bolt of Uranian light. Maybe a sibling will inspire you with an idea or something, because it's coming from the house of siblings, but also from the house of your local friends. Lastly, the second house is being healed. Your wound about money and self-worth and self-possession. Some of you Pisces, sun, moon, and ascendants, and I'm thinking about a sun right now and a rising. You guys have been struggling with your financial story. The Chiron entered your money house in 2019 and has really been pressuring you to understand your worth separate from your value and your worth separate from your possessions. You are not your money. You are not your possessions. But on the other hand, when you value and love yourself and you have a self-possession and a self-worth, then money shows up in your life. I can speak to this. I have Chiron in my second house of money natally, and it's taken me forever to figure out how to authentically create money in my life in a way that feels true and I feel fairly rewarded. And I still work on that. I'm pretty sure I don't charge enough sometimes. And I always go extra long with my clients. I'll be like, that hour and a half is almost 2 hours sometimes. I'm like, oh, is that my Chiron in my self-worth house saying, well, maybe I should go longer because I'm not worth the money I'm charging. I'm being very vulnerable to share this with you guys, because I'm really familiar with what it is like to have the Chironic wound in the second. But this is not, for you Pisces, going to be about a life situation. You're suddenly receiving this kind of learning about money and self-worth and resources and possessions as Chiron goes through your second house, where he's been since March of 2019 and will be until the end of 26/7. So it's a long healing, a long journey. Now, eat the right foods and drink the right beverages and speak the right truth. Chiron is in the house of one's voice and vocation. Find your true vocation, find your true voice. Chiron's trying to show you the way. My sister Cindy, Blind Faith Readings Tarot, amazing psychic, started her Blind Faith Readings business during the transit of Chiron to her second house. She also divested of a property that she was emotionally attached to, a possession. Second house things are possessions, during Chiron's transit to her second house. So think about ways that you, Pisces, sun, moon, and ascendants, are asking yourself to let go of possessions that you cling to and may also be not even the best thing for you, but also where your self-worth is also tying things up for you, and lack of self-worth in particular, or self-respect or self-possession. So the Chiron square to the full moon may bring to light where you don't love yourself, possess yourself, respect yourself enough. Your theme song is that song Respect. Is it by Ella Fitzgerald? Somebody like that. Okay, that's the song you should be listening to, because for the moon, right? Because this moon squares this Chiron squares the full moon and asks you to be revealing to yourself your own self-worth and self-doubt and lack of self-respect issues, and bring light to that so that you can generate more resources in your life through the energy of your inspiration and your creativity, fifth house, and through a little help from your siblings or your buddies in the third house, as well as the third house is writing, your own ability to self-express, especially through writing. All right, guys. Oh my God, I think that was long, but I did it. Look at that beautiful painting behind me at my friend Sylvia's house. I'm out of here. Hopefully you're gonna get this. I posted it. I needed my daughter to edit it for me because now I've got a blooper in it for Taurus. But otherwise, I'm hoping this is getting to you in a timely manner because I'm recording it on December 19th. Mwah.